He offered to make it black, but I just like the color.
Set for A. If it was set for D, in order to get a good 155 Ionian, you got to either lower this to a C or keep it at D, which
So like
means
C,
these,
D, G or something? Or?
yeah, so which means these strings have to come way up, and a regular guitar string won't pull up that high. And you'll listen to mine in a few minutes. I can pull mine up real high, and that music wire, the tensile strength on it it's not the same animal. The guitar strings break.
Yeah.
Generally with a guitar string, you got 2 up, 2 down, or a banjo string, depends on what you're playing. Versus the music wire, my goodness, you can you can pull it up like a banjo string is the.
Is that what they use on pianos?
Music wire. And theirs is slightly different. Actually, what we're using is for like an auto harp, because the music wire has actually got a coating on it, so you can touch it. A real fine German piano wire, they wear gloves when they handle it because it doesn't have that protective coating on it. But the tensile strength is the same. The reason we have pianos is because of music wire. Once they figured out, they took that wire and they draw it through a die, and they found out when they pulled it and kept making it smaller, it actually got stronger. So the first thing they did with it was the E string on a violin. And of course the old people were like, can't put steel on a violin. And now they're all steel, right? But the music wire was used, the hammer dulcimer has got music wire on it. And the hammer dulcimer wire was probably the biggest reason for manufacturing music wire versus even more than a piano. Now, I'm like, this is for your history lesson. Do you know why? All right, you've read the King James Version. The word dulcimer is in there. Do you know what that is?
I always assumed it's something similar to hammer dulcimer, but no.
We didn't have no hammer dulcimers
Yeah, okay.
6,000 years ago. It was actually in the, let's see, the Old Testament is Hebrew, and the translation, they would take a goat skin, and they'd make kind of a whistle out of it, so it was kind of like a bagpipe, but it wasn't really a bagpipe. That is the word that they translated for dulcimer. The reason they use the word dulcimer is because in England, was it about 1400, 1450, I don't know the exact year, once those came out, they were so popular that word found its way in the King James Version translation. So that's what they're talking about. If you talk to a seminary student that has studied the ancient Hebrew, they'll tell you about it.
that's wonderful.
So your hammer dulcimer takes more abuse, I would reckon.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that tensile
And in order to get those high notes, this is the American zither versus the European box zithers, like that little skinny one there. Lost my train of thought. The scale on this is not much more than an octave. It's only 8 notes, versus on a hammer dulcimer, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of, and then on a piano, I think isn't it like 7 scales? Does that sound right? So in order to get those really, really high notes, you gotta be able to pull it up pretty tight.
Sorry to take you guys.
That's
No,
all right.
this is super
That last piece I shipped out this morning, the solid walnut neff. He wanted a traditional Ionian scale, and that's what this is. That's the way they were done. What you do is you build the instrument, you put it all together with no frets, and then you mark where the notes are. The problem with that is you're going to lean towards a just intonation with it, and this is why I don't do that. I've actually developed my own scale. See, that's perfect. The problem being, in diatonics, you got a lower tonic and the upper tonic, which is an octave away, and then we take a perfect fifth for accompaniment, right? So the location of perfect fifths, perfect thirds, perfect fourths from any given scale is going to change. You follow me?
Vaguely, yeah.
So if this is set with the intonation to D-A-A, when we play D-A-C, some of the notes are going to be a little weird. If we play D-A-C or D-A-G, that's what I'm doing now. Actually, it's got a pretty good,
Shaded Grove.
that's Dorian. Starts on the 4th fret. But now if we get into a 1-5-8 or a 1-5-7, you see what I'm saying? The intonation has changed, so you're going to wind up with some of them is not even acceptable. Anyway, this one sounds pretty good on Dorian, which is all I care about is Ionian and Dorian. I didn't check. Was this DAA or you slack yours?
I had it in DAA.
Okay,
but
because some will
traveling,
go
I'm not sure.
CGG. Okay.
In fact, I forgot to bring my tuner, but my iPhone's got one, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I use. I'm gonna go maybe 2 or 3 times on the other side. See, I'm on the treble side, and then I'm gonna cross over. Actually, I didn't give me quite enough. In the groove. You gotta make sure they're pushed back, because sometimes you don't want to go all the way back, and then it's might give you trouble later.
Do you play guitar?
See how close I am.
My brother that was here before with the camera, he's a very good musician. That's what he says.
That was right here. So I'm a few cents off, but I can usually get in ballpark. But I don't, and this is another reason I don't use a tuner. People in the contemporary world are scared to death to tune an instrument. What they don't realize, the piece they've been playing for 15, 40, 50 years, but they've been playing it in D8D, the sweet spot might be somewhere else. And they have no idea how good an instrument can sound if they find the sweet spot. There's this article written, it's called Hooing in the Hoe. So they go hoo, like a hoot owl, and you'd hoo in the hoe. And if you check it on a electronic tuner, there's a way to, I don't know how to describe it. Instead of just showing straight notes, it's fluid more or less. So you go, and you find it, and when you hit that certain part, the instrument will vibrate. That's your sweet spot. It might be A, it might be C, it might be B flat. You don't know. As you're playing all these different tunes and you're messing around with it, you know what I'm saying? You're going to find one that's going to be like, wow, this thing sounds great.
So it's going to vary from instrument to instrument.
Exactly. And I can take the same piece of wood and make 2 instruments They're not the same. And then we get our last one on here. Does that sound horrible? There's people that don't like that. What it is they've got that wound string, because the wound string has a different.
It's not horrible. It's different.
It's different, exactly. It's different, but it's not traditional.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm over time trying to get more and more into is more traditional.
What is traditional?
I know.
Everybody's got their own. I've argued with him over traditional, and he'll tell you lacquer is traditional. Lacquer's been around since 1930. No, I'm talking about 1830. I'm talking about 1750. I'm not talking about. And I can tell you all about finishes and the reason I do not use lacquer. Lacquer seals the wood. And when you seal that wood, you're just flirting with disaster. This is what I ask them. Okay, and everybody's done this. You've been out. You went to your local gathering for the week, the Dulcimore gathering, right? And then y'all decide, well, all right, let's go get a cup of coffee. So everybody gets excited and everyone throws their instruments in the car, or some even put them in the trunk like I do on occasion, because you don't want to leave it in the back seat. You go out and you have coffee, and you're tired, and you go home, and you wake up the next morning, and the first thing that goes to your mind is, I forgot my dulcimer in the car. It drops down to 15 degrees.
Strings tighten up and everything.
When they bring it in, I ask them, when you bring it in, do you pull it out with your morning coffee and play it? Oh, no, you never do that. I say, why? Why don't you pull it out after it's 10 degrees or 15 degrees, bring it in a hot house and play it? Well, it's bad for them. Why? Because it's got a lacquer finish. If it had a shellac finish or it had an oil finish, take it out in the rain, play that thing. Don't. That's why I use traditional. What it is lacquer literally seals the wood. I mean, waterproof. This is not. But what happens is the inside of that wood can expand and contract. And if it gets wet, it just expands. The outside doesn't. So within an 1/8 inch, it's expanded. It don't take very much. It cracks the finish. And literally cracks the instrument. All right, now I'm going to cross over again. And there's a few more secrets. Sometimes, this is another thing, when you're tuning, some folks think that it has to be set in your lap. It doesn't. I turn them up, and when I do bass, I turn it up. Whatever's, and then you have a wrench, which makes it easier. What Gene Ritchie would tell you is comfortable. So it's not too tight, it's not too loose. And then we're going to pull up a perfect fifth. What we're doing, think of, that's do. Do, re, mi, fa, so, do, so. And then whatever we're playing would be do again, the upper do.
And that's 3 on the melody, right? Is that 3 on the melody string? The do?
Depends on what you're playing.
For DAA, I'm sorry.
For DAA, your 1-5-5 would be do, so, so. Because we're playing do, so, do. That's sharp. They're going to have to settle a while. But what we can do is I'll let you play my Betty, and I'll play my... And then... in noter technique, you can get some real nice effects with it. And there's lift-offs, which is kind of deadening the string. Actually, I thought this one was split. Sometimes they split. You can do slides, you can do slurs. Have you ever watched Robin Clark's advanced noter video? where you're leading the note, you're late on a note, it gives it different sound effects. So you just got to practice each of those. Let's see if you're, let me see. Well, no, we need to have them the same, don't we? And see, these, these are the Whitners. These are actually mechanical tuners. Isn't that fancy? Mm-hmm. $75 a set. All right, let's talk about traditional get-togethers. I just wanted to
It was interesting.
the fence post.
It was interesting.
Lost my train of thought again.
Talk about, not that many traditional.
Oh, okay. If you and I get together, we know exactly what we're doing. If I sat down with Robin and Clark, I know exactly what I was doing. You know who Bobby is? Ratliff.
Yeah.
He's going to come visit. He's wanting to camp in Cumberland Gap, so we'll get together for several days. He makes hog fiddles, and most of them are Virginia style. Has a really interesting peg head on it. He uses zither pins and uses music wire, and they have that Appalachian twang to them, which is what I like. That's how I would describe that one. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I just raised the other two strings up. That's 1-5-5. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to a 1-5-8. And if you're going to cheat, just thumb it on the fifth. See what I'm saying? That'll put you close. Not exact, but then listen to it. So now we're 1-5-8 open, Mixolydian. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you have other instruments, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they tuned DAD for your, okay.
Pretty much.
What we're going to do to reverse it, instead of being 1-5-8, we're going to go 1-4-8. There's a